right, fellas, I'm excited for this one. This is a semi-regular segment that we've had on the show and really allows our man Tazza to come into his own. This is Professor Tazza with his monthly report card. What we like to do is Tazza will go through and he'll give his grades each month of the AFL season on how the teams have been going. And the three of us in the chat here, as well as you watching at home, get into him. Let him know who's right, who's wrong, who's been undervalued, who's been overrated. Professor Tazza, floor is yours, mate.
Professor Tazza is back. Are we ready to land, boys?
Oh, no.
Let's do it. Starting off from the bottom, we are starting with 3 teams I've given an F. Don't worry, the Dogs don't have an F. They've upgraded a little bit.
Okay.
But I've got your bottom 2, Eagles, North, and I'm going with the Giants with an F as well.
Ooh, the Giants. Hard to argue with North and the Eagles, but the Giants, what's your problem with GWS?
There's too many Rolls Royces in that team. There's too many stars in that team. The defense is quite good. The defense has barely seen much change. The midfield is the midfield. Leon Cameron just has not got that mix right. I don't know what he's doing there. There's a lot of guys playing out of position. The forward line obviously is a weakness that we've pinpointed many times, but they're 2-6 and they've lost some games there that really they should have won. They're way too good a team to be 2-6. I mean, it was a borderline D and an F, but given where we thought they could have been this season, they get an F from me.
You touched on they've got stars in their team. Are these guys actually stars though? Because in my opinion, someone like Ed Langdon from Melbourne, he's a star to me.
Mm-hmm.
A Lockie Whitfield isn't a star. He's a pretty boy player. He's got the skill there, but he's not a star. Josh Kelly, you could argue, maybe a star.
He's a star for me. Mm-hmm.
The only one who I would definitely say is a star, change of game, there it is, Toby Green. I say he's a star. I wouldn't put, I'd say they're very good players, but I wouldn't say they're stars. I had them gone pretty far this season, and I just think
you had them winning the flag, BT.
Yeah, I think they're just not good, and the coaching needs to change.
They've been found out. Yeah, Leon Cameron, he's been there 10 years, and they've got a grand final performance and a pretty shit one to show for it. So I think his time's up. There's something needs to happen with that team, and there's enough there. Yeah, whether they're stars or not, yeah, that's probably a good point. But there's enough there that team should not be 2-6.
All right.
Yep, I agree with you on
I
that
like
one.
it. Harsh but fair. Let us know in the comments if you agree. Tazza, D's, what do you got?
I've got 4 teams sitting at a D this time round. We are looking at Essendon, Port Adelaide, the Bulldogs, and Adelaide. Port on their way up after a horrible start. The jury's still out on them. They need to string a few more together to be nearly achieving a pass mark. Essendon 2-6, underperforming. They really need to get on a roll. But like you said, the draw doesn't look great. Bulldogs, I mean, I couldn't give him an F after what you guys fed me when I gave him an F last time. So they're sitting, 3-5 after a grand final. It's definitely not a pass mark. And Adelaide, 3-5, rebuilding. I mean, after a couple of, I probably would have given them a C if it weren't for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they have been dominated a bit in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, maybe a little bit harsh on the Crows given where they're at. They're kind of on track, I think, for where they should be. But yeah, the other 3 teams, are hard to argue with that. You could go lower if you wanted to. But that being said, your mob Port Adelaide, they have had a good last month. I will give them that. They are starting to claw their way back into contention. Not convincing at all, but they're getting wins on the board. So you'd have to be happy with that.
The signs are there, I think, for Port. It is changing a little bit. It's clicked. I mean, they lost to Carlton by a point. Yeah, they got smashed in that game and didn't deserve to win, but they were a point away from being a 4-4 team, really, of scoring the ledger. The signs are there. They're coming back. They've got North next week. So you'd expect them to get up there. Oh,
remember, they lost after the siren to Adelaide as well.
Yeah, that too. So, I mean, it's not doom and gloom. 3 wins against, 2 against good opposition in the Saints and, the jury's probably still out on them, that they're a 5-3 team regardless, and the Dogs on the weekend. So it's getting better for them. Moving on to C's. We've got a few C's here. There's 7 C's.
Oh my goodness.
So there's teams that we see here swimming in the middle of the pack. We've got 8 rounds of data, but it's such as the topsy-turvy state of the fixtures at the moment and the wins that we're not really seeing any consistency from these teams. So we've got Hawthorn, Gold Coast, Collingwood, Richmond, Saints, Sydney, and Geelong. So a lot of those teams haven't met expectations. Some are exceeding expectations. Gold Coast exceeding, where I've got Sydney not meeting probably where they'd want to be, but probably should have won a few more.
Yeah, some interesting teams in there. I think Hawthorn's been disappointing given where they started the year. And I think you're right. I think Sydney, you could have ranked lower as well because their last month, they've really come back to the pack, I think, BT. I mean, they've been pretty disappointing given the expectations on them.
Yeah, like I said earlier on in the video, they've scraped through with these wins. Like even one of their wins was the Buddy Franklin 1,000 goal game. If he was kicking 1,000 that game, they were always going to win. That's just how things were going to work that game against Geelong. I think they're right where you are. You probably, I wouldn't have disagreed if you put them as a D, but they could easily turn it around. I think a C is probably right. I can't disagree with that one.
Yeah, no, like Saints as well. I mean, we look at them, 5-3, losing Sydney, and the Saints are on a very similar trajectory. 5-1, lost the last 2. I've got a couple of tests coming up. They really need to show something because they have looked like fancies, but we don't really know where they sit.
A lot of these teams are the ones who will take that 6th, 7th, 8th spot. That's what we're looking at here with these type of teams. They're not up there with the next lot of teams you're going to name, but they're good enough to challenge these teams in finals.
Yeah, well, now we pretty much get to the top 4. So it's probably that 10 to the 11 to 5 there, where you could throw a blanket over them, and we don't really know where either of those are sitting. We probably put your Collingwoods and your Hawthorns down the bottom, given the lack of experience, and you'd expect Sydney and Geelong to be somewhere there about come the end of the season. Moving on, Carlton. They get the lone B this time around.
On their own.
On their own, yeah. Look,
Interesting.
there's a clear top 3 for me, and put it together, you know those 3 teams. But Carlton, they're just sitting, leading that chasing pack. Like I said, the 3's far away. Carlton at 6-2. The Freo loss will hurt them because of that. For both teams, that definitely seemed like a bit of a prove yourself kind of game. But at 6-2, I mean, given where they stand, I think a B is fair.
I think the list is there. You know, I think in the pre-season, we didn't have them making finals, but I know personally for me, that was more a reservation on how long it was going to take for them to adjust to Vossi. And full credit to Vossi, he's come in straight away, completely, rejuvenated that list, and they're humming. So, they've got good depth. They've got great talent across the field. So, yeah, full credit to Carlton. I think the question with them now, Steve, is not so much can they make finals, but can they make the top 4?
I think so. I think a B's fair. Yeah, I think they can make finals as long as they just keep doing what they're doing. And I mean, obviously, the real test will be when they come across, like Melbourne and Brisbane. Obviously, they played Fremantle and lost there. So as long as they can at least show a little bit of fight against like Melbourne and Brisbane, then I think they've probably proved to most people that they could at least make a push for the top 4.
Definitely. Moving on to the A's. So we've got our last 3 teams. We've got Brisbane, Freo, and Flagmantle, and Melbourne. Look, Brisbane, they're really lucky where they are in their fixture list because they've played really well. They have. But they've hit a double injury to McStay and Danaher. Would usually hurt, but they've got 3 pretty decent matchups coming up. No, it might be 2 before they hit Freo. They're humming. They are. But some injuries could threaten to derail their season a little bit. Freo have been the surprise packet of the season. their defensive brand of football is just, I wouldn't say defensive brand, but the way they've been able to restrict opposition teams has just been great. And Melbourne, Steve, there's not much more to say about Melbourne. They're humming. They're on a 15-game win streak dating back to last season. They can play 2 quarters of football and win games by 40 points. I mean, if there was another rating, they'd have it. But all I can give them is an A.
Melbourne's definitely the step above, I think, compared to Brisbane, Fremantle on level. Melbourne's that step above. They're just quality. They're just one of the better teams I've watched over the last probably 5 years. They're just good all around. And they're not even playing their best footy right now. Like we said, they play 2 quarters, or they'll play a terrible first half of the first quarter and still lead at quarter time. It's one of the most underrated players in the whole league is Angus Brayshaw, playing a halfback wing role. He deserves to be All-Australian.
Yeah, that is a great call. Watching him the last few weeks, the way he just racks up and disposes off halfback, I think this is the player that they thought they were getting. I mean, obviously he was more of a contested player back in I think he was top 3 in the Brownlow.
Yeah.
Can't remember what year it was, but he's found a niche and a home there, and he's just absolutely killing it this year.
And you look at his brother on the opposite end, who's one of the Brownlow favourites. So
he'd be second favourite for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Just had to clarify which brother you were talking about there, because Hamish for the Eagles obviously hasn't really had the impact this year.
Superstar.
It's going to be really interesting. Maxi Gawn, at the time of recording this, not sure if he's going to play or not. So Luke Jackson has to lead the ruck. I think that's going to be really interesting to see if Melbourne still have that level of dominance and if Jackson can be the player that everybody thinks he can be. So
you can't read into that much. It's against Eagles. Let's be real. It's against West Coast, and
They could play without a ruck and that'd be fine.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
you make it very
There's a potential that I'll go to the game on the weekend. If I go, I'm going to watch Melbourne. I'm not going to watch the Eagles.
That's fair. They're playing good football. I mean, you're going to turn up to watch them. You're not going to watch the Eagles. The shit they've been serving up lately. Why would you?
If the Eagles somehow win this game, I will get their logo tattooed on my arm right here.
Hey.
We'll have the Eagle logo.
No temporary tats either. This is full on legit.
No, this is real. This is real tattoo. Will be right on the arm with the Southern Cross right there as well, right?
Oh,
You heard it here first. Eagles, you need a lift, all right? We need a big week from you boys. Tazza, really nice work from you, Professor Tazza. He's done well. If you've got any thoughts on that in the comments, let us know what you agree with, what you don't agree with. And yes, Professor Tazza, you'll be back in a month's time and we'll look at the teams all again.